I'm Shane Constantinople.
And I'm David Rutherford.
Right, so welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to try and figure out how our behavior impacts our well-being.
Okay.
And we've got some interesting stuff to work with. We've got a chapter from a textbook on biosocial medicine, and we've also got a handout from a university course on human behavior.
Yeah.
So by the time we're done with this deep dive, hopefully we'll have a way better grasp on what well-being actually means, how people measure it,
Right.
and all the surprising ways that our behavior really affects it.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Like how we tend to just think of health as, not being sick, right? But the World Health Organization, they take it a step further. They define health as a complete state of well-being, physically, mentally, and socially. And the CDC even breaks it down even more into 6 different aspects of well-being.
6? Yeah. Really? I'm kind of surprised by that. What are they?
Okay, so we've got the ones you expect, like physical health, mental health, but then it gets interesting. They add social well-being, emotional well-being, even economic well-being. And then there's this one called development and activity, which basically emphasizes the idea of continuous growth and engagement throughout life.
So it's not just feeling good right now. It's about building a strong base in all these different areas and then always trying to improve as a person.
You got it. It's taking a more holistic look at what well-being means.
So in this textbook, they use life expectancy to show how behavior can actually impact well-being.
Uh-huh.
And they found some pretty interesting trends when they looked at life expectancy at different ages.
Yeah, one of the most noticeable ones is the gap in life expectancy between men and women. Women generally live longer.
Yeah.
And sure, biology plays a part in that, but behavior seems to be a big factor too.
Yeah, the textbook talks about how men have higher rates of accidents, drug overdoses, and deaths from jobs that are, considered dangerous.
Right.
So it's some of the choices men are making, some of their behavior patterns, might actually be putting them at greater risk.
It's a complicated issue, but it shows how our choices, what we do, can actually have a real impact on how long we live.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about what we do as adults.
Okay.
Infant mortality rates, they actually heavily influence life expectancy at birth.
Right, that makes sense. But how does, behavior fit into that?
Well, a mother's behavior during pregnancy, like smoking, can increase the risk of infant mortality. It really shows how behavior affects well-being even before we're born.
It's crazy how it's all connected. The textbook also looks at life expectancy at ages 25 and 65.
Okay.
And it found that the more education people have, the longer they tend to live. Consistently.
That's interesting.
Like what we do during our school years, really engaging with education.
Yeah.
It can have effects for decades.
I know. It makes you think about those choices we make when we're younger. The things we might think are no big deal, but they can really have long-term consequences.
It makes you wonder what shapes how we approach education in the first place.
Right.
Like back when we're kids and teenagers, and how those early experiences sort of set the stage for our health and well-being later on.
That's a really good question, and it kind of leads us to think about the quality of life, not just how long it is. Yeah. The textbook talks about these things called dailies and QLIs, which consider both lifespan and disability.
Oh, right. Those acronyms, disability-adjusted life years and quality-adjusted life years.
You got it.
I always had a bit of trouble understanding those. Can you kind of explain them for me and for anyone listening in a way that's easy to get?
Sure. So dailies, or disability-adjusted life years, basically measure the burden of disease. They look at not just how long someone lives, but how disability affects their quality of life. It's like they're trying to measure how much healthy life a person loses because of a certain condition.
That's helpful.
So for example, living with a serious disability for, say, 10 years,
Yeah.
that would mean a greater loss of dailies than living with a milder disability for the same time.
That makes sense.
And the handout we have actually includes a visual that really helped me grasp this concept. Shows how different levels of disability impact the calculation.
Okay.
It makes it clear that just living longer doesn't automatically mean you're having a healthier or more fulfilling life.
Right. So it's not just about the quantity of life, it's about the quality too. But what about QELYs, those quality-adjusted life years? How do they differ from dailies?
So QLIs are often used to see how effective medical treatments are.
Okay.
They're a way to figure out if a treatment is actually making someone's life better, not just longer.
Oh, okay.
So a treatment might add years to someone's life, but what if those extra years are full of really bad side effects, or they just don't have a good quality of life?
Yeah.
Are those extra years really worth it? QALIs help us think about that. They take both the quantity and quality of life gained from a treatment into account.
I see.
The handout even has a formula for calculating QALIs.
Yeah, it did, but I'll admit it looked a little intimidating to me.
Yeah, it can be a bit tricky. It involves giving different health states a utility value. Perfect health has a value of 1, death is 0, and everything in between, like living with a chronic illness, falls somewhere on that scale.
So basically, a year lived in perfect health would be 1 QALI, but a year lived with a chronic illness that impacts daily life would have a lower utility value, so it would be less than 1 QALI.
You got it.
It's amazing how they're trying to measure something as subjective as quality of life with numbers.
I know, right? It's a challenge, but these tools give us a way to make hard choices about healthcare resources. They help us figure out which treatments give the biggest benefit in terms of both living longer and living better.
The textbook also talks about something called self-rated health status. Basically, it suggests that asking people to rate their own health can actually tell us a lot.
You might think that's too simple, but it turns out there's a really strong connection between how people rate their own health and objective health measures like mortality rates.
So people are pretty good at knowing how healthy they are, even if they can't explain exactly why.
That's right.
The textbook mentions studies that used a 5-point scale, from excellent to poor, to see how people rated their own health.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty basic tool, but it can give a lot of insight into people's well-being.
It shows us that how we see our own health actually matters.
Right.
And that view is shaped by all these things, our behaviors, our social connections, the environment, and just our overall outlook on life.
Speaking of social connections, both the textbook and the handout really emphasized how important social capital is for well-being.
Yeah.
Not just for individuals, but for whole communities.
Absolutely. Social capital is like the glue that holds a community together. Trust, reciprocity, shared value. It's not just about personal relationships. It's about the well-being of everyone in a society.
And the research on social capital is pretty impressive.
It is.
The handout mentions a report from the UK in 2020 that found that people with higher social capital are more likely to volunteer, get involved in their communities, and feel like they belong.
Yeah.
And even safer where they live.
It shows us that strong communities aren't just about buildings and roads. It's about the social connections, too. Right. A community with high social capital is a place where people feel connected, supported, and like they can make a difference.
The textbook also talks about how social capital is linked to better health.
Absolutely.
People with more social capital tend to be healthier overall, they make healthier choices, and they even live longer.
It's amazing how strong connections can actually protect us, right?
Yeah.
They help us deal with stress, isolation, even the downsides of economic hardship.
So social capital isn't just some feel-good idea. Yeah, it has real, concrete benefits for both individuals and communities.
It's like a resource that can improve health, well-being, and even how long we live.
It makes you wonder how we can build more social capital.
Right.
How do we create those strong, resilient communities that support everyone's well-being?
That's a really important question, and it's something we'll definitely dig into further as we continue this deep dive into behavior and well-being.
I can't wait. So welcome back. We were talking about how behavior and our social connections impact our well-being.
Right.
And I'm kind of curious to go back to those ways of measuring well-being. We mentioned before DILIs and QLEs.
Yeah.
At first, they seem pretty complicated.
They can be a bit tricky, yeah. But basically, they're just ways to put a number on how much illness or disability affects a person's life.
Okay.
Remember, DILIs stand for disability-adjusted life years.
Right.
And they're all about measuring the burden of disease.
Right.
Not just how long someone lives, but also how disability affects the quality of those years.
So it's about figuring out how much healthy life a person might be missing out on because of a certain condition.
Exactly. It helps us compare the impact of different diseases and health conditions.
Okay.
So, for example, someone living with a severe disability for 10 years. Yeah. That would mean a greater loss of DILIs than someone living with a mild disability for the same amount of time.
The handout we have, it had a visual that really helped me get this.
Oh, yeah.
It showed how different levels of disability change the calculation of DILIs.
Right.
And it really showed that living longer doesn't always mean living a healthier or more fulfilling life.
And that's the key point. It's not just about adding years to life. It's about making those years good years. And that's where QALYs come in, those quality-adjusted life years.
Okay, so they build on that idea. So it's a way to check if a treatment is actually making someone's life better, not just longer.
Exactly. A treatment could add years to someone's life. Yeah. But what if those extra years are full of bad side effects? Or they just don't have a good quality of life?
Right.
Is it really a benefit then? QALYs help us figure that out. They look at both how long someone lives and the quality of those years after a treatment.
That makes a lot of sense. The handout even gave a formula for calculating QALYs.
It did.
But I'll be honest, it looked a little scary.
Yeah, it can be a bit complex. It's all about assigning a utility value to different health states.
Utility value.
Yeah, like perfect health, that gets a value of 1. Death gets a value of 0.
Okay.
And then everything in between, like living with a chronic illness, gets a value somewhere on that scale.
So if you live a year in perfect health, that's 1 QAOY.
Exactly.
But if you live a year with a chronic illness that really affects your life, that would have a lower utility value, so less than 1 QALY.
That's right. It's pretty interesting how they're trying to measure something as subjective as quality of life with numbers.
Yeah, it is. It's tough to measure something like that.
It is a challenge, but these tools, they give us a way to make tough decisions about healthcare.
Okay.
They help us figure out which treatments are the most beneficial, considering both how long and how well people live.
The textbook also talked about something called self-rated health status.
Oh, right.
It basically said that just asking people to rate their own health can tell us a lot.
You'd think it's too simple.
Yeah.
But studies show there's a strong link between how people rate their own health and things like how long they live.
Wow.
People are actually pretty good at knowing how healthy they are, even if they can't really explain why.
So we're better at judging our own health than we might think.
Seems that way.
The textbook mentions studies that used a 5-point scale, excellent, good, fair, poor, to measure self-rated health. Sounds pretty basic, but it can be powerful.
It is. It reminds us that our own perceptions of our health are important.
Yeah.
And those perceptions are shaped by a lot of things, our behaviors, our social connections, our environment, and just our general outlook on life.
And speaking of social connections, yes, both the textbook and the handout really emphasize the importance of social capital for well-being.
Absolutely.
Not just for individuals, but for whole communities.
It's like the fabric of a community, the trust, the reciprocity, the shared values that bind people together.
Right. It's more than just individual relationships.
It is. It's about the collective well-being of a whole society.
And the research on this social capital is pretty convincing.
It is, yeah. There was a report from the UK in 2020.
Oh, yeah. The handout mentioned that.
It found that people with higher levels of social capital are more likely to volunteer, participate in community events, and really feel like they belong.
Right, like they're part of something.
Exactly. They even report feeling safer in their communities.
It shows that strong communities are about more than just physical things like buildings and roads.
Right. It's about the social connections, too. When a community has high social capital, people feel connected, they feel supported, and they feel empowered.
The textbook also mentioned the link between social capital and health outcomes.
Oh, absolutely.
People with higher social capital tend to have healthier habits, they're healthier overall, and they even live longer.
It's like those strong social connections act as a buffer. They can help protect us from stress, isolation, and even the negative effects of not having enough money.
So social capital isn't just some nice-sounding idea.
No, not at all.
It has real benefits for individuals and for communities.
It's a valuable resource that can boost health, well-being, and even longevity.
It makes you think, how can we build more of this social capital?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
How do we create communities that are strong and resilient and support everyone's well-being?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore more as we keep going on this deep dive into behavior and well-being. So, welcome back to our deep dive. We've been talking about how our choices and our social connections affect our well-being.
Right.
And now I'm wondering, how do those bigger societal things fit into all of this?
Yeah, that's a really important piece to consider. Well-being isn't just about what we do as individuals. It's also tied to the social and economic conditions in our communities and societies. Remember that connection we saw between education and life expectancy? Yeah. Socioeconomic factors have a huge impact on people's access to education.
Right.
And then those differences in education can really affect health outcomes later on.
So it's like this chain reaction, where being disadvantaged in one area can lead to consequences that affect well-being in the long run.
Exactly. And the textbook even points out how some of our behavior patterns can actually contribute to those inequalities.
So interesting.
We talked about things like smoking, poor diet, lack of exercise. Those behaviors are more common in certain socioeconomic groups. And unfortunately, they can make those cycles of disadvantage even worse.
Yeah, that's really complicated. It could feel kind of overwhelming to think about. I know. But I think it's also empowering to realize that even within those bigger systems, we can still make a difference with our own choices.
Absolutely. We're not helpless. The choices we make about our health, how we engage with our communities, the values we live by, all of those things contribute to creating a society that supports well-being for everyone.
One thing I thought was really positive in the textbook was how they emphasized focusing on things we can prevent rather than just treating the consequences.
Right.
It's like a proactive approach, empowering people to make healthy choices.
It's about creating environments where those healthy choices are easier and more accessible.
Exactly. And it brings us back to that question we touched on before. If the choices we make during our school years have such a long-lasting impact, what can we do to help kids develop those healthy habits from a young age?
Yeah, that's such an important question.
What kind of environments can we create both at home and in our communities that really set kids up for success?
It's a big question, but a really important one. It requires a multifaceted approach. Individually, we can be mindful of the choices we make and support policies that promote well-being for everyone. But we also need to think about the bigger picture.
Yeah, things like investing in good education and health care, addressing those root causes of inequality.
Exactly. Those are essential steps toward building a society where everyone has the chance to thrive.
It's a shared responsibility, and it's not going to be easy,
No.
but if we can pull it off, the benefits would be huge. Imagine a society where well-being isn't just a privilege, it's something everyone experiences.
That's definitely something worth working towards.
I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
I agree.
From our own personal choices to our social connections and the impact of those bigger societal forces, we've really explored a lot of different aspects of well-being.
It's been an amazing journey, and it really highlights how interconnected our well-being is. The choices we make today, both as individuals and together as a society, can really ripple out and create a world that's more just and vibrant for everyone.
And on that note, I want to thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. We've covered a ton of information, but hopefully we've sparked your curiosity and inspired you to think about the choices you can make to improve your own well-being and to contribute to a world where everyone has the chance to thrive. Until next time, keep diving.